Okay, Shalini, when did you realize that you were building a brand?
Almost right at the beginning.
Okay.
I started Mantra in 2003 in Cochin. And that time, there were no women's wear brands as you see them around. We had boutiques and we had tailoring units. We had boutiques offering customized designing services. So right from the beginning, I saw a gap for a ready-to-wear brand. So I studied other ready-to-wear brands across the world and set about creating a framework for one in Kerala. So from the beginning, I knew it was a brand that I wanted to build and not a boutique.
Okay, sorry.
So that is, very often people refer to, it's natural because there are many players in this industry and most of them are, you use a catch-all phrase called boutique, but there is a difference and I've worked towards differentiating brand from boutique right from the start.
No, so that's an interesting thing that Shalini just said, because I made the mistake of telling her that, how's your boutique doing? and I should have noticed the daggers flying. I should have done that. But so boutique essentially, I think, is a one-place operation. You kind of do everything in one place. Whereas what she's saying is it goes beyond just one location. It's multi-location, multi-city, and I'm glad you're thinking of it that way.
Yeah,
for a fashion brand to come out of Kerala,
yeah.
right? Tony, where does a brand begin? Or does it start with the logo, kind of what I showed, or does it happen elsewhere? How do you approach it?
I think the logo is sort of a manifestation of your brand in a visual form. But your brand begins much before that. The exercise of finding yourself, again I'm coming back to that, is much before you put a logo to it, right? What will allow you to put a squirrel on your brand is a big question, right? So while we'll see gap in the market, oh, nobody has taken the squirrel, I will take it, right? I'm the first guy to take the squirrel. Now, so that's a big question which you need to ask yourself in context to what makes me unique. And that unique proposition needs to be represented with a face. The brand is your face. So what Pratap was showing us is the face of the brand. And that brand faces basically tells you the entire story. And one of the important parts are there are faces which basically connect with people and there are faces which aspire people, right? And as you grow, that connection becomes stronger and stronger. And what we were talking about, it precedes you. So the moment you show the logo, before you even show one word or speak one word, it's already spoken to you. Right? And you're connecting with it very strongly. So that connection between the image and what you are and what you do is the important connection so it's much before, and it's crafted in that fashion.
Right. And, if you look at big international companies, when they do what is known as a visual identity system, right, where you have the brand logo, the colors, etc., they put out an entire, sometimes it's like an encyclopedia. A large brand, in fact, I remember this. You remember GE, the brand GE, General Electric? So their brand I used to handle, I launched SBI card in India. You remember SBI card, 1998? The launch ad said, introducing the currency of modern India and the card. And it was a joint venture between GE Money and SBI. Okay, SBI is network and GE is technology. So to understand the way the GE logo would be handled, we were sent their brand book. It was not a book, it was a trolley. You've seen those trolleys where people keep books and push them around? It was exactly like that. We had about 10 volumes of that book. Okay, I mean, some office somewhere still has it, but now everything is online, so it's okay. But those days it was physical. It was actually a trolley. That is the kind of detailing that it goes into capturing the essence of the brand and ensuring that any Tom, Dick and Harry who handles it will not mess up. If you look at India, even in Kerala for that matter, you will see brand colors have changed. You would have said this particular Pantone shade is what works. And this is the set color. But some painter will decide that he wants to use some other color and he will use it. And you will see your brand, but it's not the same color that you want. So you paid lots of money, but they will screw it up. The Airtel logo that you saw, when they made it, they paid a design agency 23 crores. That was 23. Can you imagine somebody paying 23 crores for a logo in this market? I'm saying that it is possible if you have a logo, if you have a brand that is that big, right, and that kind of scale. But that's the kind of money that people actually look at spending, because that is the soul of your brand. The font, the colors, how it appears, and how it appears on different mediums, how does it appear on television, even radio branding for that matter, the sound. There's so much of money being spent on these kind of things. Okay, Geetika, your niche is you work with founders and you advise them about brands. What do they lose? I'm sure they lose something in what you tell them, right? They lose bits and pieces of what you... What is the most valuable loss that happens?
Okay, that's a good question. Makes me think. So I think the first and foremost thing, what they lose is the opportunity to actually connect with their audience, per se. So for example, there was a study, I remember, there was this study which was, I think, done in Princeton by some scientist called, I think, Yuri Hassan or something. And he put people in, brain censoring machines, right? So if you put people in that, it kind of censors and reads your brain signals and everything, right? And then he would start to tell them stories. Okay, and the fun part was that if a story connected really well, right, with the audience, then the parts of the brain which would start kind of firing up would be the same as the person who's telling you the story, right? So it was almost like it would start to mirror. So the lovely lady over there, she's kind of leaning in to listen to me. So I pretty much think your brain from inside right now and my brain from inside right now is pretty much looking the same, right? And that is the kind of connection which is a potential, which is an opportunity, and at the same time can also sadly become the biggest loss for a business, right? If you don't leverage that. So I think that's the loss which sometimes gets lost in translation, as they say, as the metaphor goes, because who we think we are and how the world perceives us are two very different things. And when those two things connect, when your communication and when what you are trying to communicate is what your audience actually takes away from that conversation, that is when there's a term in psychology called neural coupling, right? So you're coupling at a neural level with your potential customer. And if you start to do that, if founders and their communication starts to do that, if their storytelling, where they're coming from, what they stand for, what their company is about, what in the world are they trying to do by building that product or service, if that messaging starts to connect with the audience, that's when that neural coupling starts to happen with your customers. And when that happens, magic
happens.
Exactly. Yeah. And if that doesn't, to answer your question, that's a loss.
Okay, here, how many of you actually handle brands here? In charge of brands, can you raise your hands? Okay, not many. Okay, here is an interesting thing. I want you to write down, okay, you don't have to do it now, but imagine you handle a brand, okay? Write down, and every brand is a personality, has to be a persona. It cannot be otherwise. And a brand is a living, organism of sorts. Write down what your brand is. Describe your brand. You have to be able to do it. If you know your brand, you should be able to do it. Ask your team members to do it. Right, your CEO is going to do it, your CTO is going to do it, your CIO is going to do it, your CMD is going to do it. And you will realize, എല്ലാവരും വേറെ വേറെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ എഴുതുന്നു. Some will get it right, some brand owners will get it right, but 99%, the brand itself is not clear within the team itself. And that's a problem with this business, because we are human beings, see brands differently. Right? I mean, there are always several sides to a story, much like the elephant and the 5 blind men in the room. It's a bit like that.